like that. I like that approach. Creating more harmony instead of balance.
Mm,
Do you struggle with the same thing I struggle with as a father?
mm.
There's some days I look in the mirror and ask myself, man, am I a good dad?
Uh,
And honestly, right? Because I think I'm a good dad. I did, no, nobody ever taught me. I didn't go to
yeah.
dad school, but I wrestle with it some days, man. I do. I'll be really honest with you. Do you?
There's been some pretty hard moments with my kids. I have 2 daughters. They're now 19 and 21. Both at
Wow.
university now. So I'm an empty nester now as of this September. So it's
Oh, that's a whole new transition for you and your wife then. That's
probably
probably show number two then.
it's I'll tell you right now, I'm still trying to navigate that. It's been really challenging, especially for my wife. That's been really hard for her. And
Yeah.
for me, it's also been hard because 20 years of our life, we've always had kids around and now we don't. And so it's been even my wife and I trying to reconnect and rekindle and just figure out this way of life again, but now without the kids always there. And where I'm going with this little side story is that I've always struggled with that exact same question. And more specifically, that personalized question: am I a good dad?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a good dad or a great dad even? And if I think back to my own life, my dad was a very kind man. He was very introverted, very stoic.
Mhm.
He would show either extreme anger or humor or so it was like
Mhm.
it was modeled. And so I would piggyback a lot of that myself in my own. I recognize this, especially in my 20s, my early 20s, sorry, late 20s when my kids were both under the age of 5 still. And I realized that I found myself wanting to work more and not be at home. And then I could use that as an excuse to
Mhm.
give myself an excuse as why maybe I'm not as great of a dad as I could be, but it's because I'm just not around enough. This is what I'm talking to myself inside. But it was like, oh, if I was
Yes.
home more,
Yes.
I'd be a great dad. And again, just trying to eliminate some of this guilt and shame that I would often feel when I would ask myself that question. And I realized
Real.
that I had to start thinking about what is it that I would want if I was my own child. And
Right.
do you know what I mean? Like that we talk about this all the
You-
time. We hear almost the cliches about this, like our inner children, right? And but
Yes.
there's some truth to that because there's often an area that maybe we felt neglected in, or we felt we didn't get enough in, and it's been affecting us. And I started to ask myself, what is it that I always wanted as a child that I didn't find I had consistently? And I then in turn wanted to offer that to my daughters because in doing that one thing, it did make me feel like I was supporting and giving, but also at the same time, I was helping myself.
Right. Yes.
And so, am I a good dad? I like to think so. Am I
Mhm.
progressing towards being a great dad? Hopefully, forever and ever. As you said earlier, just to riff on what you were saying, that's the journey, right? Like, will I ever be a great dad? I don't know, but I'm going to constantly be shooting that direction. That's my North Star.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I found that connecting with other dads that are open to having this kind of a conversation has been the most helpful in recognizing that, you know what, I may not be there yet, but I'm not alone. And other dads are struggling with the exact same thing.
Exactly. That's why it struck me when I fell upon you and you brand yourself, you call yourself a dadpreneur. Dad is first. As a dadpreneur, what do you say to people who chant the busyness mantra?
Listen, man, I've been there with everybody. I get it. And Keith, you and I probably have the badges to shade that we like to wear. That little badge of honor. It says, I'm
Yes.
so busy, or ask me how busy I am. And I found it was more of an escape than anything for me because being also someone that has dealt with social anxiety and at times found myself extremely introverted, wanting to avoid connection at times when I'm not feeling good about myself, I avoid interacting. This is when I know things for myself are off. And I would use the term busy almost as a way to say, hey, look at how important I am, but also as a way to push people away. And I started to realize, like, why do I say this all the time? Like, why do I claim that I'm so busy? Who's that
Mhm.
for when I say that? Is it for them?
Mhm.
No. Is it for myself? I guess so, but why? And when I started to reflect on that, I realized, you know what? I don't like this language anymore. I don't want to be busy anymore, but I do want to live a full life. And so now people ask me, like, hey, are you busy? How busy you been lately? I'm like, I'm not busy at all. But my days are full of the things I want to fill it with, the people I want to fill it with, and the experiences I want to fill it with. And that's how I look at it now. And if there's things that I find I don't want to fill my life with, I just don't put it in. Simple enough. But that's my language around that now is I strive to live a full life, not a busy one.